Hi, my name is Frank Barnes, and I'm sitting down with Jim Rickards, one of the most qualified men in America, to prepare you for an urgent event that will begin just days from now. Jim, good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Frank. Thanks for having me today. Time is of the essence. I want to make sure everyone tuning in at home is fully prepared for what's set to take place in the coming days.
Great, Jim. Folks, if you haven't noticed, there should be a box on the screen. That's where you can type any questions you might have throughout the evening. We'll have a Q&A later on, and we'll do our best to answer your questions then. So go ahead now and use that box. Tell us your name, where you're from, and what you're hoping to get out of tonight's event. Okay, great. Jim, things are crazy right now in America. I know you've been warning of a big market crash. The Fed just raised interest rates again. Is that what you're here to talk about tonight?
No, not at all, Frank. This is much more urgent. Tonight's interview has to do with the upcoming midterm elections just 2 days from now. I'll go into further detail in just a moment. But according to my research, I believe President Biden has been covering up a major economic issue to steal midterm election votes. What happens over the coming days could change the outlook for America for decades to come.
Stealing midterm election votes, Jim? This could be huge. Let's jump right in. Over the course of just the next few minutes, Jim's going to tell you the single most important move you must make before the results come in November 8th. A warning that you're not hearing about from the mainstream news. You'll hear the full story during tonight's urgent special event. Here's a little preview of the event and what you can expect to hear. First, Jim will tell you why the market turmoil we've been seeing in 2022 is just the beginning and why the worst is still ahead. Specifically, he wants you to mark November 8th on your calendar, just days from now. And that's the day that he believes all hell will break loose. He'll tell you why in just a moment. Second, he's going to ask you to make a decision that will be critical to your and your family's financial survival in the days ahead. Do you want to be left behind during this new crisis? Or do you want to use this crisis to shoot for potential fortunes that most can only dream of? Third, he's going to show you how, in past times like these events have produced a huge boom in a specific and vital sector of the markets. If you know how to play what's coming, you could make a few moves, and if you hit it right, you could see gains you've never thought imaginable. We're talking about using this situation to go for gains of 1,505%, 2,610%, even 5,575% in the matter of months. Finally, he'll reveal a unique intelligence strategy that 5 U.S. presidents have relied on to protect this great country, a strategy he's personally used to predict terrorist attacks for the CIA and Department of Defense. And now, during this critical time, he's unveiling this strategy to take all the guesswork out of trading, pinpointing precise moments to not only buy but also sell in this vital sector of the markets that Biden and his administration have all but forgotten about, giving you the chance to 15 times your money in the next 90 days, even as the markets are crashing down. For example, in Jim's extensive historical research, he's been able to see a 1,505% peak gain from Gevo Inc. in just 90 days, a 2,610% gain from Rensselaer Limited, and a massive 5,575% peak gain from energy company Sunworks Inc. As Jim will soon show you, the stakes for this event couldn't be higher. Jim, you're predicting an event that will be way, way worse than the inflation that's crippling so many families right now.
Way worse, Frank, and the urgency could not be more near. There's no time to waste. Biden's already laid the foundation for this event. There is no turning back. The carnage will begin just days from now.
And Jim, you're saying someone listening right now really only has two options when a crisis like this is unfolding. Either use what you're about to share to prepare and make sure your family is safe and set up for success, potentially making 15 times your money or more, even during a massive correction. Or simply do nothing and be left behind to suffer. According to your analysis, what you're calling Biden's cold cover-up will begin in just a few days on November 8th.
That's right. It's why I had to put together this urgent briefing. Everyone needs to take immediate steps to prepare now before the situation gets even worse than it already has. I'm going to outline everything tonight.
Jim, tell me, cover-up? What is going on out there? What has you personally so worried, yet so excited at the same time?
Well, I think we all share the notion that Biden's policies have been disastrous for the country. If you pay attention to my Twitter account at all, you know I'm extremely outspoken against the president. But as bad as Biden's been so far, it's about to get way, way worse. Because Biden made a huge blunder when he first took office. In fact, he's been actively trying to cover it up. And on November 8th, just a few days from now, it'll hit America hard.
You're talking about inflation, rising interest rates?
No, not at all. What's coming will make the 8 to 9% inflation we're seeing look like child's play. What's going to happen this winter could be the equivalent to 10 to 15 times what we're seeing now in terms of rising costs. So if you're sitting here in Maryland where we're filming and say you're used to paying $200 a month for your heating bills this winter, could you afford to see the bill go up 15 times? Could you afford to pay $3,000 a month to heat your house? Could you make it through the winter with your bills adding up to $12,000, $15,000? To remind you, this is on top of the inflation we're already feeling in food costs and housing costs. The destruction has already been done. We're just waiting to see the fallout, which I'm predicting is just days away.
What do you mean by that, Jim? The destruction has already been done?
It all started last year when President Biden terminated a critical piece to America's energy infrastructure. Of course, I'm talking about the boneheaded plan from the Democrats to kill the Keystone XL pipeline project. That project was expected to carry 830,000 barrels per day of Alberta crude oil to Nebraska. Shortly after canceling that oil pipeline, Biden made an already bad energy situation way, way worse. He began to freeze all decisions about new federal oil and gas drilling.
Why would President Biden do this, Jim?
These decisions have been made in an effort to tackle all this silly climate change debate. Forget AOC's Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam. Biden claims climate change is the #1 issue facing humanity.
The #1 issue.
Those are his words, Frank, not mine. He vowed that no one is going to build another oil or gas-fired electric plant. Biden's plan to transition from oil and natural gas could be politically popular, but mark my words, it's catastrophically stupid, and his administration has no answers for when things get bad. Just a few months ago, when gas prices were rising, AOC walked away from an interview when asked about her message to Americans facing pain at the pump. This is a problem that isn't going away. It's all part of the Green New Scam. Oil and gas executives have been aware of the global movement towards renewable energy and say the U.S. will still require fossil fuel production for decades to come, even during a global transition. Even former President Trump went on record saying, basically what he's saying is he's going to destroy the oil industry. And I agree with him, but the Greenies keep pushing their agenda anyway. It's the silly, stupid, non-scientific climate change nonsense that's leading the Biden administration to banning old-school, real tangible energy here in America. And as a result, step by step, Biden's already sowed the seeds of the complete destruction of America's energy production. But there's one other thing President Biden has done that really left me scratching my head.
What else, Jim?
It's Executive Order 14066, Joe Biden signed back on March 8th.
What was this executive order about?
After the Russian-Ukraine war began, Biden banned all imports of Russian liquefied natural gas and coal into the U.S. in an attempt to hurt the Russian economy.
And you think this made things worse?
I don't think it did. I know it did. Not only did Russia just find a new partner to send their resources to, the Chinese, I believe this action only escalated the war we're currently seeing overseas.
Escalated the war? How so?
Well, if you go back to the 70s and 80s in the Cold War, gas to Europe was a Soviet Union Cold War weapon. And right now, Putin and Russia are utilizing gas again. Just a few weeks ago, Putin threatened to freeze the West by cutting oil and gas supplies if the EU imposed a price cap. Then, shortly after, he shut down the Nord Stream gas pipeline to the EU indefinitely. The Nord Stream 1 pipeline is a key artery carrying Russia's vast gas supplies to Europe, accounting for about 35% of Europe's total Russian gas imports last year. It flows directly to Germany, the bloc's biggest economy, which is particularly reliant on Moscow's gas to power its homes and heavy industry. And things got even worse a few weeks ago. As you may have heard, the vital gas pipeline was sabotaged, and gas deliveries have been completely suspended.
Sabotage. Sounds like even more crisis is brewing than I thought.
Well, it certainly does, but you can be the judge of that. Unfortunately, this act of war is hitting the Europeans harder than they thought.
Yeah, I've been seeing news here and there about rising energy prices over there. Are things getting worse?
They are, Frank. Fears of an energy crisis this winter have sent European natural gas prices spiking into previously unimaginable territory, approaching $100 per 1,000 cubic feet. For reference, U.S. gas prices traded around $3 to $4 per 1,000 cubic feet for much of the last decade. European gas prices overall have risen 15 times since 2021. French power prices have shot up 10 times. German power prices are up 500% to date. An executive director at one UK power company recently issued a shocking warning that more than half of the UK households will likely be in fuel poverty by January.
Fuel poverty? As in, you become poor trying to pay your ever-increasing heating bills?
Exactly. And in one of the most somber warnings so far, Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo said Europe could face up to 10 difficult winters as a result. This is causing certain European countries to step in and take massive action.
What do you mean? What are they doing?
Well, for example, the French government recently offered a premium of more than 50% to minority investors in Électricité de France SA, seeking a swift nationalization of the troubled company that is the backbone of the country's energy policy. This was a $9.9 billion offer, and they aren't alone. Germany just announced a deal to nationalize Uniper, the country's biggest gas importer. For most Americans, what I'm about to say will be hard to believe, but imagine if America moves to nationalize certain energy companies like ExxonMobil in a national emergency, forcing these companies to sell their oil at specific prices or else. That would be an unprecedented move, and it would rattle U.S. markets, leaving some investors with nothing more than worthless paper in their 401ks and IRAs. Nothing can be ruled out in the days after November 8th. But if you know what to do, you could potentially 15 times your money in the next 90 days if you know what moves to make. And those are the moves I'm going to outline tonight. Mark my words, there will be big winners and big losers for what's about to come. And tonight, I'm going to make sure everyone watching has the chance to be a big winner. But you know what's worse than paying top dollar for energy, Frank?
What's that?
Not being able to get it at all. Right now, you can't buy firewood in Germany. It's all sold out. You have to go into the forest and chop it down yourself. In Poland, citizens are sleeping in their cars for days on end outside of coal mines to make sure they have coal to heat their homes. It gets worse, too. You can't make fertilizer without natural gas, and fertilizer is the major input to agriculture. In addition to skyrocketing prices, you have transportation bottlenecks, shipping bottlenecks. Well, guess what? A lot of farmers around the world can't get fertilizer, or if they get it, they pay 3 or 4 times the price they did the year before. And while the crisis started ramping up with the Ukrainian invasion in February, harvest is coming up now. October is the harvest season for the stuff you plant in March. But what if you didn't plant it in March? What if you couldn't plant it in March? What if it costs 3 times more because of the fertilizer? This is where things could get hairy. I predict you're going to see food shortages and social unrest, and that will spill over. This is an issue setting up to be the final piece of the puzzle that turns this recession into a free fall.
Sounds awful. But Jim, most people watching tonight aren't in Europe. They're in America. So what gives?
Well, here's the critical part. This is a European issue now, but it could become an American issue starting as soon as a few days from now on November 8th. And here's the thing, Frank. When people start spending $3,000 a month to heat their homes, they won't be able to spend that money buying anything else. So a doom loop will begin.
Doom loop?
Well, let me explain. Goldman Sachs just reported that European energy bills are set to surge by $2 trillion in 2023. To put that into perspective, Frank, if that comes to America, it'll cost every man, woman, and child in America an extra $5,555 on average next year, or every household $16,000. That's an extra $16K not spent on consumer goods, which means the economy slows, which means layoffs increase, which means earnings decline, which means stocks get crushed, 401k accounts get crushed. Not to mention the $2 trillion estimate isn't coming from some average Joe. These predictions are coming from one of the largest and most powerful banks in the world, Goldman Sachs. All because Biden set the wheels in motion to ban oil and gas in favor of silly climate change policies.
But Jim, you're saying a doom loop is coming. At the same time, you're saying you can make 15 times your money in the next 90 days. What gives?
I know making 5, 10, or even 15 times your money during a doom loop phase can be pretty unbelievable to most people, but I'll explain how it works step by step in a moment. For now, let's stay on the doom. Remember, this rise in energy prices isn't some crazy far-off prediction. It's already happening in the EU. And it's these soaring energy prices that are going to give the few of us who are prepared the shot at not just doubling or tripling our money over the next 90 days, but potentially seeing extraordinary 15x returns on our investments. Listen closely, Frank.
We're all listening, Jim.
What's happening in Europe right now is coming to America. In fact, it's already begun. Bloomberg recently reported that an incredible 1 in 6 U.S. households is late on its utility bills. That's 20 million American families, the largest number ever recorded. Things will only get worse as peak demand season for natural gas hits this winter. This is just the beginning. Now that Biden screwed up American energy, banning pipelines, banning permits on drilling, and embracing stupid green energy policies that can't help us, we're stuck. We're in for a long, cold winter. All thanks to Biden's biggest blunder yet. So forget 8% inflation. Are you prepared for a rise by 1,500% in your heating and energy costs caused by spiking oil prices?
I'm certainly not.
Well, I think that goes for most of America, Frank. But there is a silver lining. If you make the one move I'm going to reveal to you today, the same move some of the most successful investors of all time are already making, I believe you could potentially 15 times your money over the next 90 days, even amongst all the chaos. And it's not just me who sees this scenario playing out. Legendary energy mogul Harris Cooperman, who's delivered a massive 500% return from his hedge fund, Praetorian Capital, is on record saying he thinks the price of oil will reach $200. Doug King, head of RCMA's Merchant Commodity Fund, predicts that oil prices could soar to between $200 and $250 a barrel this year. Even Pierre Andorand, one of the sector's best-known hedge fund managers, said oil could hit $250 a barrel this year. It's coming, and we're days away. It all begins on November 8th.
Why November 8th? You've mentioned that date multiple times now.
Well, as I'm sure you know, midterm elections are November 8th.
Yeah, I do. But what do the midterm elections have to do with this?
You see, this is the day Biden's big cover-up will end.
The cover-up you mentioned earlier. Can you explain?
Yes, cover-up. There's a good reason why we haven't felt these price hikes yet. He's been stealing votes to set up the Dems for success.
Stealing votes? What?
Let me explain. See, in 1975, the United States started something called the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or SPR as they call it. The idea was simple, to build up a big pile of oil reserves to use in the case of emergencies. That way, if any nation threatened to cut us off, we always had a big stockpile to mitigate the short-term damage of energy disruption. For nearly 50 years, we added and added and added to that stockpile of oil. But guess what Biden's doing?
He's not adding to it anymore.
Worse, it's impossible to add to the stockpile when you've demonized oil and banned all types of new American production. But what's happening is worse than not adding to the reserves. Day by day, Biden has been draining our oil reserves. In fact, he's drained more oil faster than we ever have in history. Just take a look at this chart of the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The Biden administration this year has delivered about 1 million barrels of oil per day from SPR stockpiles to lower fuel prices and pare energy inflation ahead of the midterm elections. Coincidence? I don't think so. The releases so far this year have helped knock average U.S. retail gasoline prices down to $3.75 a gallon this week from $5 a gallon in June. But they have also cut U.S. emergency stocks to below 450 million barrels, the lowest since 1984. Let me say it again. We're at a nearly 40-year low. Now, he can't keep draining this oil forever. If we get too low, we'll become extremely weak to nations who can weaponize oil, like Russia or the Middle East. So what Biden has done is drain the reserve all year. That way he could cover up rising energy prices until the midterms, trying to get the Democrats into the best position possible. And once the elections are over, this draining will stop. Mark my words, this will result in massive natural gas and oil spikes post-election.
Right as we're shaping up for the winter.
Right, Frank. The first freeze of the season may be here before you know it. In fact, some parts of the northern plains and Rockies have already had their first freeze, as well as accumulating snow. But my research shows that most of the country averages the first freeze in November. This includes parts of the Southwest, much of the Central Plains, the Great Lakes, the northern Ohio Valley, and a large swath of the Northeast, including New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and D.C. And when things begin to get freezing cold, what do we need?
we need to turn to our energy resources to make sure we have heat.
Correct. So when America freezes this winter, we won't have enough reserves for its quick recovery. Biden's solely to blame here. And that's why I'm calling this Biden's cold cover-up.
So what you're saying is right now things have gotten bad, but in the coming months things are going to get much worse.
That's right, Frank. And if you think that things have been bad so far in 2022, you haven't seen anything yet. We're just moments away from a catastrophic snowball effect that's set to take place as soon as November 8th. I believe the single event will kick off the beginning of Biden's coldest winter.
How bad could it get?
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you remember the big freeze in Texas in 2021?
I do. I think, nearly 10 million people lost power?
That's right. It was awful. This power shortage resulted in water, food, and heat shortages across the state for days. In fact, the Great Texas Freeze killed nearly 3 times more people than Hurricane Harvey did back in 2017. So I want you to think about what happened in Texas. Then think, what if that happened to the entire nation?
The entire nation, Jim. There's no way that's possible.
Well, that's why I call this urgent briefing, Frank. As I've outlined for you today, it's more possible than you think, and it could be right around the corner.
That's awful news for our viewers, Jim. Is it not?
It is, but not all has to be lost. For one, you're watching this broadcast right now. You've already put yourself in a better position than 99% of Americans blind to this coming crisis. Your first order of action right now is to prepare for rampant energy outages and rising prices. You can do this by 1, buying a portable generator and keep fuel in storage so you can run the generator for 2 or 3 days if needed. And 2, if you have a fireplace, load up on firewood, install a pellet stove, and load up on pellet fuel. Plus, you should always have a good supply of battery-powered lamps, candles, matches, and oil lamps available.
Those seem like great ideas, Jim. What's the second order of action our viewers need to take?
The second is to set yourself up to profit wildly from this crisis with just a couple simple moves that I will outline for you in the next few minutes.
Profit, Jim? In a time like this?
That's right, Frank. If you look back at history, when the world gets caught in these energy crunches, absolute fortunes can be made. This is how we can aim to 15 times our money in the next 90 days.
I mean, how could that be possible? Can you explain?
Of course. Think about it like this. More than any other asset, natural resource prices go through extraordinary booms and busts. One year, the value of a resource like oil, silver, or copper will skyrocket 75%. The next, it will fall 50%. A great example of this is uranium. You can see here in the chart on your screen how quick the uranium boom was from 2006 to 2008. What sort of asset regularly goes through massive price swings like that?
I really don't know. Definitely not your house or even regular stocks you've had in your retirement portfolio.
Exactly. I like to think about it like this. Essentially, the demand for energy resources contrasts with demand for businesses like those that sell toothpaste or toilet paper. Demand for everyday things like these is relatively constant. No matter what's happening with the economy, you're probably going to brush your teeth and use the bathroom. Natural resources, however, exhibit extreme cyclicality, and their massive price moves produce massive opportunities to profit. When the price of a natural resource soars, producers who are sitting on massive untapped supplies have what my friend and resource investing expert Martin Katusa calls extreme leverage. Imagine if you're sitting on a supply of gas worth $100 million in today's prices, and if natural gas soars here in America like it's soaring in the EU, and if we see the gas price rise 15 times in cost, that same gas producer who used to be worth $100 million becomes worth $1.5 billion in a moment's time. That's extreme leverage. And that's why stocks of these resource producers can absolutely soar during booms like the one I'm predicting. Buy the right natural resource stocks during one of these booms and you can make a fortune very quickly.
Are there any examples of resource booms like this happening in the past you could show us?
Absolutely. In the year 2000, for example, shares in the world's largest uranium mining company, Cameco, traded for $1.35 per share. In the early 2000s, though, the demand for uranium skyrocketed. 7 years later, Cameco shares had increased in value by a peak 3,600%, reaching $50 per share.
That's more than 30 times your money, Jim. And that's just by buying the stock. Nothing crazy, nothing exotic. 3,000% on your money with a single stock play.
Absolutely, Frank. It's happened time and time again throughout history. Look at gold, for example. From 2000 to early 2006, a supply-demand crunch caused the price of gold to rise 105%. But shares of gold miner Goldcorp climbed a lot more during that time, to almost a peak of 1,000%. That kind of gain turns a $10,000 investment into nearly $110,000. At the same time gold took off in the early 2000s, so did silver. Silver climbed from $4.07 per ounce in 2001 to $20 per ounce in 2008. During that time, one of the world's leading silver producers, Pan American Silver, climbed from $2.56 per share to $42.50 per share, a 1,560% peak gain.
These gains are rare and spectacular, Jim. 10 times, 20 times, even 30 times. From what you're saying, it looks like when a specific resource is in a crunch, it creates a unique opportunity for even the average American to make life-changing wealth?
That's right, Frank. Earlier I mentioned a gentleman named Marin Katusa. You know him?
No, I can't say I do.
Well, Marin's a friend of mine, and today he's a multi-millionaire. But it wasn't always that way. He's actually a former calculus teacher. He's a great example of this. Back in 2003, Marin was doing research and invested in a little-known metal called tungsten and turned his teaching salary into millions. Over the next 2 years, the price of tungsten soared more than 500%. But because of what Marin calls extreme leverage, one of his positions climbed from 25 cents per share to over $6 per share, a 2,300% plus return. When all was said and done, he made over $1 million on the investment and never had to teach another calculus class in his life.
That's an incredible story, Jim. $1 million on one investment.
Yep. He did the same thing during the uranium boom I was just showing you. He got in before uranium soared more than 600%. Many uranium stocks skyrocketed over 1,000% during this time, and he made another $1 million. When you get in on a massive resource crunch, the possibilities are endless. This isn't to say that you should bet the farm on any one of these plays, as they are volatile, and the examples above are some of the top-performing research plays we could find. Only invest what you can afford to lose. That said, these resource booms are the most powerful force I've seen in finance, ever.
And that is what you see happening with oil and gas over the coming months. A resource crunch.
100%. Biden's already set everything in motion. Supply is draining up all across the globe, driving demand up. And certain producers are sitting on massive oil and gas reserves. As demand goes up, these reserves will become invaluable, which in return should shoot the share prices of these companies up in warp speed. This is our opportunity to make a life-changing type of profit, even during such difficult times. And I've seen time and time again, with the right trades, you can make as much as 10, 20, even 30 times your money in a matter of months. As you can see, I had to call this urgent briefing today to help everyone prepare, because I believe this single event will trigger a massive economic downfall across the globe. As a result of this, some stocks will crash and burn, while others will reap the benefits of the crisis and soar. I promise to explain everything in the next few minutes.
I hope so. I mean, all of this sounds great, but how would I know what resource stocks to get into? Aren't there thousands of stocks like that out there in the market?
You're absolutely right. Picking the right stocks can be nearly impossible. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But you can't just go and buy everything oil and gas blind. You'll lose your face. That's why you need a strategy.
A strategy?
Yes, Frank. Now, I know we've talked about a pretty big economic collapse today, but here's the good news. Behind the scenes, I've been working on a very special project. I've been developing and testing a strategy to predict major economic and financial moves weeks, even months before they come to fruition. It's the same strategy the 5 U.S. presidents have relied on to save the country, a strategy I've personally used to predict terrorist attacks for the CIA and Department of Defense. And now I'll unveil how this strategy takes all the guesswork out of trading, pinpointing precise moments to buy and sell, giving you the chance to target 15 times your money in 90 days or less, no matter if the markets are shooting up or falling down.
That's a pretty big claim, Jim. I mean, 15 times your money in just 90 days? In the middle of a market crash? Didn't you just say how bad things are going to get in the coming months? I'm sorry if I'm a bit skeptical, but I'm going to need some rock-solid evidence to back that up.
Look, I know big fast gains like that are extraordinary, but I don't want you just to take my word for it. Let me prove to you how all this was possible if you use this pattern. You see, I've dedicated my life to utilizing intelligence triggers through the market. Like you mentioned, I was recruited by the CIA to help them build a system that could track terrorists by detecting unusual movement they left behind in financial markets. And thanks to the time I've spent working on systems like that and the connections I've made, I've been able to accurately predict huge market-changing events like the 2008 crash, Trump's election win, the 2020 COVID crash, and many others throughout the years.
Yeah, I know you've literally advised multiple presidents throughout your career, Jim. I don't know anyone else that can make that kind of claim.
Well, I appreciate that, Frank, but this isn't about me. Like I mentioned, time is of the essence. Tonight, I'm going to reveal the results of our study and show everyone here how my strategy can identify unique signals in the market, even weeks and months before big macro events take place, giving you the shot to potentially double, triple, and even make up to 10 times your money or more, sometimes in as little as 90 days, simply by following my system. And all that regardless of whether the market is booming or crashing down.
Okay, Jim, can you tell us more about this system of yours?
Okay, see this confidential document I'm holding in my hand? It describes the inner workings of a powerful strategy I discovered while working with the U.S. government. A strategy that can help you identify surprising political and economic events weeks, even months before they happen, pinpointing the exact time to not only buy a stock but also sell for maximum profits. I call it the Kissinger Cross.
Kissinger Cross. What is that?
Well, the Kissinger Cross is a system.
What kind of system? Could you show us your Kissinger Cross live in action?
Absolutely. Let me show you some examples I've seen over the years when it comes to oil and gas. Take a look at this chart on your screen. It's for the ticker symbol BRY. Berry Petroleum is an energy company engaged in safe and responsible development and production of conventional oil reserves in the western United States. As you can see at the beginning of 2020, Berry Petroleum saw a huge crash, falling from $7 a share down to $2 in just a couple of weeks. Just by looking at the chart, this stock certainly didn't look like a screaming buy.
No, not at all. Just by looking at this chart, I wouldn't touch this stock with a 10-foot pole.
Exactly, Frank. But take a look at how crystal clear the trade could be when you input my Kissinger Cross strategy. See the cross appear on your screen?
Yes, I do now.
I applied that cross on the chart for March 18th, showing us the ideal entry point at $1.82 per share. Isn't that so simple to spot? The first cross shows us that around that time, something big was getting ready to take place in the energy sector, specifically oil and gas.
Wait a second. This was right around when the pandemic started, right?
Right. There have been rumblings of COVID in Asia and Europe, but no big news in the U.S. yet. But just take a look at what happened after the Kissinger Cross. Look at this article from CNBC. They reported that oil had its best month on record in May, but the Kissinger Cross strategy could have registered in March, a full 60 days or so before the spike.
So you're saying this intelligence strategy could have seen the big spike in oil months ahead of time?
Exactly. If you would have waited for the mainstream media to report on the big oil move, you would have been too late. Because look at the chart again. See that second cross I applied to the chart on June 8th?
I sure do, clear as day. What does this cross mean?
This cross tells us to get out of the trade for a 246% peak gain.
Wow, Jim, that's more than triple your money. So this intelligence tool not only alerts you to when to get into the stock, but also when to get out as well.
Correct. That's what makes this strategy so special. And remember, these examples are a result of our historic backtest, and naturally I'm showing you exceptional gains here. But that's why I'm so excited to share this new strategy today. It has real-world potential, and today's market is the perfect time to unleash it. So let's take a deeper look. Shortly after the second cross, the stock began to tumble back down to $4 a share, saving you from losing all of your gains.
Wow, that's really interesting, Jim.
By simply buying and selling at the Kissinger crosses, an investment would have more than tripled with this play. That's the power of the Kissinger cross. There's no need to sit on your laptop all day and watch the markets, not with the Kissinger cross at work for you. It comes down to 3 simple steps.
What are those steps?
Step 1, pick any stock, apply my proprietary Kissinger cross strategy, and hit buy only when I notify you that the 2 lines crisscrossed, just like you see on your screen. Step 2, go on about your life per usual, whether that's spending time with your grandkids, getting out on the golf course, or finishing out the last few years of work before retirement. This is one of my favorite things about the Kissinger cross. It is not some day trading indicator. It is so powerful that it has been proven to predict big political and economic moves weeks, even months in advance, giving me plenty of time to ski, see my favorite musicians, and spend time with my family. Which leads to step 3. Sell when you see the same 2 lines cross again, just like you see on your screen.
That's it?
Yes, the concept is really that easy to follow. But get this, with this intelligent strategy, it is possible to get ahead of these big market moves and even have the potential to 15 times your money in the next 90 days.
15 times your money in 90 days, Jim? Are you sure you want to make that kind of prediction right now? I know you're calling for this coming winter to be catastrophic.
Well, I understand why you'd be skeptical, but this intelligent strategy I learned from legendary security advisor Henry Kissinger is something I've been perfecting for more than 38 years now. Plus, we've done years and years of historical research. Let me show you some rare and exceptional historic examples so you can see how this works.
That'd be great.
Take a look at this other chart. Take a look at the stock SM Energy Company, another oil company. The company is a North American energy company engaged in the acquisition, exploration, development, and production of crude oil, natural gas, and natural gas liquids. Now, there's nothing special when you look at the chart. Here's how most people see it. You can see here that SM Energy Company really didn't have much going for it.
No, not at all. I wouldn't buy that stock just by looking at the chart.
I can't blame you for thinking that. But look at how clear the buy and sell moments become when you overlay the formula behind the Kissinger Cross intelligence strategy. You see with perfect clarity exactly where to buy. For example, take a look at the Kissinger Cross I applied on the chart for October 29th, 2020.
And this indicates that SM was a buy even though the stock wasn't moving.
You got it.
I'm beginning to see a pattern here. Your intelligence strategy could have predicted something big months ahead of time.
That's right. Look at the chart again. See that second cross I've added to the chart on March 15th? Remember, this second cross indicates a sell. Following those 2 simple Kissinger crosses, an investor could have grabbed a 1,355% peak gain in less than 5 months.
So let me get this straight. Had an investor followed those 2 simple Kissinger cross signals, they could have made more than 10 times their money in less than 5 months.
Correct.
I really like how this strategy not only shows you when to get in, but also when to get out.
Timing's everything when it comes to trading stocks, and that's why I want to unleash the Kissinger Cross in real time. But here's where things get interesting. Check out this article from CNBC in February of 2021. Could you read that headline for me, Frank?
No problem. It says, oil hits pandemic high as winter storm pushes demand and poses production risk. Is this the type of oil spike you see coming this winter, Jim?
It absolutely is, but on steroids, because this time supply is going to be so limited, I'm predicting prices will have no choice but to spike 10 times or more. Here's another example, this time for the ticker symbol GEVO. GEVO is an energy company headquartered in Douglas County, Colorado. Take a look at this chart. You can see from here that GEVO looked to be dead in the water for months with no real direction.
Just by looking at its chart, there would be no reason to buy in.
Right. But look what happens when you apply my Kissinger Cross strategy to this stock.
I see the Kissinger Cross system flashing again.
That cross could have appeared on November 12th, showing us that GEVO was a buy. But check out this article from the NASDAQ just 2 months after the Kissinger Cross. In January, they began to report about GEVO stock soaring.
But the Kissinger Cross could have given investors a signal in November.
Correct.
Again, your intelligence strategy would have known of something big happening around GEVO months ahead of time.
That's right. The article went on to report that co-founder of GEVO, Francis Arnold, was named to President-elect Joe Biden's science team.
Wow, that would have looked like a major vote of confidence from the incoming administration for both Arnold and potentially GEVO.
But if you would have waited for the mainstream media to report the news on January 19th, you would have been too late to profit from this move. Look at that chart again. See that second cross showing on the chart on February 12th? This cross could have signaled us GEVO is now a sell. In this case, had an investor followed those 2 simple Kissinger Cross signals, they could have seen a 1,505% peak gain.
Jim, that's more than 15 times your money.
It is, Frank.
You weren't joking when you said you could make 15 times your money in as little as 90 days.
Well, of course, these are some of the best examples we found in back-tested examples. But you can see the power of the Kissinger Cross.
Absolutely. These gains are really mind-blowing. But, Jim, what would have happened if you just bought and held and didn't get out when the Kissinger Cross indicates? Would you still have cashed out big?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Take a look at the chart again. If you would have held on to the trade and not followed the second Kissinger cross, you would have actually lost more than half your gains almost immediately.
Wow. Jim, that is devastating.
Yes, Frank, just look at the chart to see its urgent pullback. That's why the Kissinger cross intelligence strategy has critical money-making potential. It's not just about getting into a stock, but also knowing when to get out. I don't know about you, but I know I would prefer to keep my money in my pocket after I've made it. This is not rocket science. Simply spot the crosses and follow those 2 steps, and you could bag potential exceptional peak gains, like 246% gains from BRY, 1,355% gains from SM, and a 1,505% gain from GIVO.
All from the oil spike during the pandemic?
Correct. But it gets better, because there are plenty more examples of how the Kissinger cross can work too, including 3 plays you can make today, right now, to begin to aim to accelerate your own wealth. My Kissinger cross has just triggered.
Right now?
That's right. It all revolves around the massive energy crisis I've been warning about today. Many will be stuck suffering, wondering what happened and how they got stuck in the middle of Biden's cold winter. But if you're prepared, I believe there is a huge underlying opportunity to profit. I'll give everyone the details of all 3 of these plays in a moment. Most people think that you cannot time the market, but the Kissinger cross is hands down the closest thing I've seen for finding the exact moment to enter and exit a trade. I'm going to show you everything you need to know to start using the Kissinger cross technique today. You can use my Kissinger cross if you've never bought stock before. You can use it if you have a 401k or IRA. You can use it if you trade in and out of stocks in your brokerage account. You can use it if you're retired, near retirement, or just looking for a way to accelerate your retirement. And you can use it no matter what amount of money you have to start, be it $500 or $5 million. All you need to do is follow the exact Kissinger cross moments I lay right at your feet. Now that you've seen proof of the simplicity and power of the Kissinger cross, there's really nothing like it.
You weren't lying, Jim. And folks, remember, in just a moment, Jim is going to go a bit deeper into Biden's cold winter. And of course, we also have a Q&A coming up later on the broadcast. But before we get to all that, can we talk about how you developed this intelligence system? There's just so much to unpack here. From the CIA to advising presidents. Can you shed some light on this for us?
Of course, Frank. So you see, this trading system is a result of some of the most closely guarded secrets of the CIA, Pentagon, and MI6. As I mentioned earlier, there's a very good reason that you haven't heard of the Kissinger cross before now. But before I tell you, I have to come clean about something. I did not invent the Kissinger cross, and I can't take credit for it. It was taught to me by America's most controversial security advisor, Henry Kissinger. The year was 1981. Kissinger had left his post as the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. At a private luncheon, he agreed to teach his best secrets to a small group of up-and-comers in the intelligence field. As a recent graduate from Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, I was lucky enough to be in that room. The number 1 secret Henry Kissinger shared that day was...
And let me guess, the Kissinger cross.
You bet. The Kissinger cross is a result of a time-tested, proven mathematical formula that until today has been specifically reserved for the highest-ranking government officials. In fact, 5 presidents have relied on this exact crisscross pattern to help them solve some of the world's most complex problems.
Even U.S. presidents have used this system?
They have. Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama used this cross technique improperly, leading to 9/11, the Iraq invasion, and troops on the ground in Syria. But when used properly, the same formula has been used to end World War II, to locate crashed commercial airliners, to predict the space shuttle disaster beforehand, and much, much more. In fact, I personally used the mathematical formula behind the Kissinger cross to successfully predict terrorist attacks for the CIA and Department of Defense. And for those at home wondering, yes, those attacks were avoided.
This system has helped you stop terrorist attacks?
Correct.
That's incredible, Jim. But what does that have to do with the stock market?
Well, that's a fair question. So even though this timing indicator has helped this great country avoid disaster on multiple occasions, I've spent years making the Kissinger cross intelligence strategy so simple that anyone, from someone who's never placed a trade before today to a seasoned Wall Street trader, can use it. And it's so powerful that when used correctly, it could potentially help you to make 15 times your money in 90 days or less, no matter if the market is soaring higher or spiraling downwards.
Even if stocks are going down?
I promise I'll explain everything in the next few minutes.
This is really interesting, Jim. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like this before.
Well, here's how it was described to me. Imagine for a moment the famous story of how Navy SEAL Team 6 killed Osama bin Laden.
Wait a second. Bin Laden. Like 9/11 bin Laden?
Yes, Frank, bear with me for a second. I promise everything will make complete sense. You see, when trying to capture Osama bin Laden, the SEALs faced three challenges. 1. Developing a list of probabilities of where bin Laden could be hiding. 2. Gathering enough information about the situation to narrow it down to the most likely probability of where bin Laden was. And 3. Acting before bin Laden moved to another location.
So let me get this straight. If the SEAL team acted too early without enough information, they could have ended up raiding the wrong location. And if they waited for enough information to be 100% certain, bin Laden could have moved.
You're getting it, Frank. They needed to find the perfect mix of time and information to strike. See, the art of counterterrorism or geopolitics, Kissinger told me, is to find what are called intelligence crosses. An intelligence cross is a green light telling you to take action. It's the cross section where you have enough good information to be smart and still have time to effectively act. That perfect cross of information and time is what I call the Kissinger cross.
And this is what the SEALs use to accurately strike and take out America's most feared enemy?
Yes, Frank. Here's the trigger points circled on the graph.
So it's no exaggeration to say that the Kissinger cross has been saving lives since 1941.
No exaggeration at all. Presidents and world leaders have used it to change the course of history. The formula behind the Kissinger cross won World War II for the Allies. It helped us win the Cold War. I've personally used this cross moment in the intelligence community to help the U.S. government prevent terrorist attacks. But to my knowledge, out of everyone that Henry Kissinger taught this Kissinger cross indicator at that luncheon in 1981, I'm the only person that's taken it and applied its secret power to financial markets.
This really sounds too good to be true, Jim. But does your Kissinger cross only work with oil stocks?
I understand, and I'm honestly glad you're skeptical. Anyone putting their hard-earned money at risk in markets should be, especially in times like these. But remember when I told you earlier that all resources go through huge booms and busts?
Yeah, I do.
These life-changing gains don't just only come from oil. Marin Katusa made millions in uranium and even tungsten. So be it oil, uranium, gold, or silver, my Kissinger cross is perfectly designed to catch them all. Let me show you some more examples.
Perfect. What are we looking at now?
There should be another chart coming up on the screen. Here we're going to be looking at one of my favorite topics, precious metals, specifically gold. Take a look at the other chart. My Kissinger cross strategy could have spotted a 426% move in Victoria Gold Corp, a leading gold exploration company, a 608% peak move in a junior gold mining development and exploration company called Jaguar Mining, Inc., and a 1,288% peak move in Karora Resources, Inc., a mineral resource company, in just 3 weeks. I could go on and on all day, Frank, but as I mentioned, time is of the essence here.
So sometimes the gains can be that big, that fast.
Yes, even though my goal is to double our money on each Kissinger cross trade, in extreme situations, it's possible to see gains this big, this fast.
That's incredible.
For more than 30 years, I kept this secret to myself and used it to build my career in law, in finance, and in my government intelligence work. But now, after more than 3 decades of testing and research, I'm finally ready to share it with my most serious readers.
Wow, Jim. Giving everyday Americans access to this kind of intelligence information will be game-changing.
It's time to level the playing field, Frank, but it gets better. I believe what I've discovered in my research will completely floor you.
What do you mean?
Well, what I've discovered is by using the Kissinger cross strategy, you can actually predict big market crashes as well.
Really? Because all of the examples you've shown us today is by getting ahead of big stock market moves before they go up.
I know, but take a look at this. With the power of one specific type of trade, you can double, triple, even make 10 times your gains, even when the markets are falling. Let me show you what I mean. Here you see a chart of FXB. FXB is a trust that tracks the price of the British pound.
Like the currency?
Yes. My Kissinger cross strategy is designed to track currencies all around the globe as well. Essentially, in this case, if the pound is doing well, the stock will go up. Take a look at this chart. My Kissinger cross could have spotted a 1,300% peak gain from the crash of the British pound, a 1,460% peak gain from the crash of the euro this year, and a 2,500% peak gain from the fall of the Japanese yen. My Kissinger Cross intelligence strategy could have caught them all.
So what you're saying is, with this particular trade, you can make the Kissinger Cross work for you in any market condition, even when stocks are falling like they are right now.
That's exactly what I'm saying, Frank. This strategy is the best way I know of to potentially generate profits no matter what is going on in the market. A stock rises, you can profit. A stock falls, you can profit. You just need to know the Kissinger Cross intelligence strategy to get in early on the news. Of course, no trading method in the world can be 100% guaranteed, and not every trade will be a winner. So never invest more than you can afford to lose. While we will be targeting those rare 15 times gains, I believe we could find a slew of smaller gains in between. And with this strategy, now you have insider intelligence information on your side for the first time ever.
Just incredible. Jim, I know we're about to get into your interactive Q&A, but before we get to that, what are you seeing right now? What's your Kissinger Cross telling you?
Well, Frank, that's why I gathered everyone here tonight. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of my intelligence signals flash, and I believe it's strongly tied to what I'm calling Biden's cold cover-up. And I believe you could start to see major movements as soon as November 8th. There's no time to waste. Just follow the 3 steps. Buy when the Kissinger Cross flashes. Enjoy your time away from your investing by enjoying your favorite hobbies or spending time with family and friends. Sell when the Kissinger Cross flashes again.
Is it really that simple?
As you've seen here today, the Kissinger Cross has the power to signal when to get in and when to get out of trades, using a math formula that predicts outcomes based on time and information. Right now, I'm going to show you a sneak peek at that math formula. I'll also show you how I've specifically designed the strategy to give you limited risk but unlimited gains. Then I'll show you how to get your hands on the 3 real-time Kissinger Crosses that have just triggered, each one with the potential to hand you quick strike gains. But first, let me reveal something to you that I'm sure you're going to like. What if I told you using the Kissinger Cross strategy the way I use it could actually be safer than simply buying expensive stocks outright?
How could that even be possible, Jim?
Let me explain. Everything I've shown you today involved 2 layers of my investment strategy. First, the Kissinger Cross indicator I've been showing you today. Second, a specific type of investment that the Kissinger Cross works best with.
What type of investment are you talking about?
Options, Frank. And before you go on talking about how risky options are, let me just stop you right there. I've been trading options for more than 40 years now, and used together with my Kissinger Cross strategy, this dual layer is actually safer than how most people trade stocks or bonds. That's because the way I use the Kissinger Cross gives you embedded leverage. That means that every $1 you invest can return many, many times your money. In fact, with options, your upside with this type of investment is unlimited. But your risk and downside is always known and limited. That's the kind of risk reward you want in an investment. Meanwhile, most investors continue using a traditional buy and hold method with stocks. That means they're totally at the mercy of the wildly swinging up and down markets. And you've seen today what happens when you just buy and hold.
Yeah, Jim, you can lose most, if not all of your profits if you don't get out at the right time.
Exactly. But when you use the Kissinger Cross method I recommend, you're in and out with precision strike profits. So here's what I recommend you do right now. There are only 3 things you'll need today to begin using the Kissinger Crosses for big gains. They are a common online brokerage account, a minimum of $500 in that brokerage account, and something completely new that I'm going to share with you right now.
Wait a second. What would that be?
I've been using the Kissinger Cross for the last 4 decades to predict massive political and economic moves. The Kissinger Cross has just been triggered. We've reached our Kissinger Cross moment. Our timing and information are perfectly intersecting, and now is the time to take action. I put all the details of 3 signals in a brand new report I'm calling Biden's Cold Cover-Up, 3 energy plays set for massive gains in the next 90 days.
That's very exciting. So let's not waste any more time. How can folks claim that report, Jim?
So instead of doing a one-time report, I decided to launch a brand new venture called the Situation Report with Jim Rickards. And I'm making this report available for free to anyone who becomes a new subscriber today.
So this is a brand new service? I know you have a couple of other high-end research services.
Brand new, Frank. These trade alerts will be different trades than any of my other services. This is the only research service where I'll publish signals from the Kissinger Cross. And tonight, I'm opening the doors to this new research service for the first time ever. Anyone who joins me today will get this report absolutely free. And that report is really just the beginning.
Just the beginning? What do you mean? How does this new service work?
Whenever my team and I see a new Kissinger Cross signal, we'll send an alert to let our members know all our research and that it's time to get in. The goal of the Situation Report with Jim Rickards is simple: to deliver a small, serious group of readers new Kissinger Cross triggers to your inbox as soon as they happen. And today I'm letting you try this new service nearly risk-free. Here's how it works. Step 1. First, I'll overlay all the current charts to find Kissinger crosses appearing on specific investments in the market. Step 2. Then I'll find the simplest way to play them for big gains. I'm talking about money-making trading opportunities you won't find anywhere else. And step 3. Finally, I'll send you private emails and texts, sometimes as often as once a week, with the exact instructions to play these opportunities, the exact setup, what trade to make, when to get in and out safely and easily for the most gains. Time is of the utmost importance in the intelligence community. So in addition to emails, I will send you a fast action SITREP text message alert whenever you need to take action on any one of our open positions. That includes any buy or sell recommendation. So no matter what, you'll know exactly when to get in and get out of every trade my team sends you.
That sounds really useful. Do you know about how many alerts new members could expect to see?
I expect to get about 2 to 4 signals a month, but there's no set schedule for these alerts because I truly never know when the Kissinger Cross will trigger.
Okay, great. It makes sense that you'd only want to alert the trades when you're most confident.
Exactly, Frank.
But I'm sure by now everyone sitting at home is wondering how much it might cost to get your hands on such a powerful market indicator like the Kissinger Cross.
Well, it's safe to say the best things in life are never cheap, especially when you've seen time and time again today just how one Kissinger Cross alert could have doubled, tripled, even 15 times your money in a matter of months. So even if I charged $20,000 for a year's worth of access to this intelligence information, I believe that would still be a bargain. But I know that would be too much money for my readers. So today, folks won't have to pay anywhere near that. In fact, you won't even pay $10,000 or even $5,000.
Less than $5,000?
I told you, Frank, I want to make sure my most serious readers can get their hands on this strategy. But before I tell you exactly how much it costs to join me inside of the Situation Report, I want to leave no doubt that you have everything you need to be successful using this trading system.
What do you have in mind?
That's why before you get started, I'll teach the basics you need to know about Kissinger crosses, limiting your risk, executing your trades, and monitoring their performance. Everything's reserved for you inside your free copy of the Kissinger Cross Handbook, How to Generate Your Own Kissinger Crosses for Big Financial Gains. Inside this roadmap, you'll learn why I believe making investments with my Kissinger Cross strategy is actually safer than how most people trade stocks. What makes Kissinger Cross investing better than other technical indicators, trading stocks or ETFs, and better than complicated options trading strategies like covered calls or naked puts? How to make these kinds of trades within your individual retirement account, IRA, and so much more.
Wow, Jim. That report alone would be a game changer for your readers.
Now, of course, I wanted to make it as easy as possible for readers to get started. So unlike other services that leave you with boring manuals to read, I've taken everything to a whole new level and recorded an interview for new subscribers, a video explaining everything.
A bonus interview too? What does all that entail?
When you claim your seat at the table with me today, I want you to make a point to watch this critical interview because in it I will reveal all the inner workings of my Kissinger Cross system, including the full story of what Henry Kissinger taught me that day in 1981, the exact math formula that makes these crosses so statistically valid, how I've used it to help the U.S. government stop terrorists, and how I've personally used it to build a successful career in finance, and how you can use it for quick strike profits. I promise if you learn the strategy and stick with the system, I believe it'll work. But you must follow the system as it's laid out. I can't promise what will happen if you try to go it alone. That's why the interview is so important.
I love that you're making sure you set everyone up for success for the coming months. Folks, remember, that interview is also yours free the moment you become a new member. And from what I've seen so far, I can imagine a lot of you are ready to get started. This Kissinger Cross strategy is truly one of a kind, and I agree that now is the perfect time to take advantage. So do yourself a huge favor and click on that Reserve Now button below. Clicking on the button won't obligate you to anything, but it will allow you to reserve your spot right away because we're going to start our Q&A here in a moment, and Jim will cover even more details for this impressive and timely strategy. But you're not stopping there, right? You're also bringing readers into your inner circle?
That's right, Frank. The coming months could be some of the wildest months this country has ever seen, which is why I'd like to be with you every step of the way. You're probably aware that I have an extensive network of high-level contacts from every corner of the globe. So as any exciting global developments unfold, I want you to keep up to speed on my newest ideas along with my newest predictions. That's why new members of the Situation Report will get a personal invitation to join me in 12 members-only weekly Zoom briefings. As you know, it's virtually impossible to get the truth from the left-wing press. If you say the wrong thing on social media, you'll get canceled. That's why I decided to take matters into my own hands and launch something called Rickards Uncensored, which gives me a platform to give you the unvarnished truth about our current political system, Biden's next big blunders, and the global economy as a whole. It's where I'll share my latest insights from my network of contacts, ranging from Wall Street insiders to top-ranking government officials. And while I can't give out personalized investment advice, there will be a chance for you to ask me questions. So you can ask me about my predictions or ideas or whatever you want. It's up to you. By itself, Rickards Uncensored is something we charge $39 a month for. But today, when you become the newest member of the Situation Report, I'll give you 3 months of this valuable service. That's a true value of $117, free of charge.
Wow, Jim, I don't know of any other way to get that kind of access to you. That's great. But okay, folks, I know we've thrown a lot of brand new information at you guys today, and the questions have been pouring in. Let me get the iPad from our producer and we'll tackle some of these questions. So, if it's okay with you, I'd like to cover a few of those questions right now.
Sure.
All right. Jim, why don't you keep this secret to yourself and milk it for millions?
That's a fair question. The truth is I have kept the secret to myself, and I've milked it for myself over the course of my 34 years in law, government work, and finance, and I still do today. But that hardly means I can't show you how to use it too. The truth is there are plenty of Kissinger Cross opportunities to go around for everyone. Remember, according to my research, we should see 20 to 30 Kissinger Cross setups each and every year. On average, that means I'll be sending you a trading recommendation about every other week. Simply wait for my email, watch the Kissinger Cross happen, buy when I recommend, sell when I recommend, and collect any gains that come your way.
Very exciting, Jim. Okay, here's another question. This sounds complicated. I'm no math genius. Can I still use this?
Absolutely. Remember, this method is so simple, anyone can use it. And there will be no tests around the mathematical formula behind the Kissinger Cross. I'll do all the analysis and overlaying for you. You don't have to worry. This is simple. Think back to the example I showed you earlier for GIVO. When the Kissinger Cross flashes first, you would have bought. When it flashes a second time, you would have sold. Get in, get out. Look to get paid. It's that easy. On this trade, you would have seen a 1,505% peak gain in just 90 days. I'll do the math to get the Kissinger Cross intelligence triggers, and I'll immediately email you when that Kissinger Cross is flashing buy and when it's flashing sell. I'll also keep track of all the different Kissinger Cross investments for you so you know how well each is performing and when to sell.
Folks, you heard Jim. All the guesswork out the door. Just click on that button now to get started. Okay, here's another question. How much does it take to get started?
We've specifically designed this for everyone to be able to use. Remember, you can have as little as $500 or as much as $5 million. It's really up to you because it only takes a few $100s to get started. But if you want to play it safe, you could start out by making paper trades. When you do that, you can see if the trades are right for you without risking any money whatsoever. Of course, the more money you put into a trade, the more you stand to make. You won't see six-figure gains if you don't risk some of your money in the market. That's just the way it works. But the fact remains you can start small and at your own pace.
How soon could I expect to make money?
Truthfully, I believe you can start raking in profits 30 to 90 days from now. This isn't a buy, hold, and hope strategy. Look back to the top historical examples I showed you. You could have seen triple-digit peak gains in matters of months, like 246% in BRY in under 3 months, 426% on VGCX in less than 6 months, even 1,505% on GIVO in just 90 days. As I've been saying, the Kissinger Cross is a trading breakthrough, and it is the perfect intelligence strategy to take on what could be America's darkest winter.
All right, folks, today you discovered the importance of the Kissinger Cross and why it's so powerful. Jim, is there anything else you'd like to share about this strategy and your new service?
Well, actually, there is. Look, we both know that there are a lot of so-called trading systems out there. The Kissinger Cross and my situation report with Jim Rickards' service is not like anything you've seen before. First of all, we're not going to try to trade every stock out there. We're only going to be focused on 4 main sectors.
What for, Jim?
Energy, gold, currencies, and scarce commodities.
So essentially the types of stocks you showed us today.
That's right. But that's just the first thing I'm doing to make this new service one of a kind.
What else are you doing, Jim?
I'm spending millions of dollars to hire an all-star team around me to help find the very best investment opportunities out there.
That's super interesting. I know how connected you are. Who are you bringing onto your team?
Well, for starters, I brought on who I believe to be one of the world's leading geologists. He's Harvard trained. He's got more than 3 decades of experience talking with top management with mines across the world, from South Africa to Vancouver, British Columbia. For instance, in the U.S., he's had boots on the ground at mines and gold sites in Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, California, South Dakota, and Alaska. He's seen exploration sites and mining operations in Canada, Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia, South Africa, Brazil, Europe, Serbia, Romania, Russia, Sweden, and more. He's on a first-name basis with the who's who in the mining industry. He sat on the board of directors for mining operations. He has dinner on multiple occasions with the founder of one of America's largest gold royalty companies. He's been deep underground, highly guarded gold and silver vaults, including one site near Zurich where it's possible the Pope himself stores his gold. The list goes on and on.
That's incredible, Jim. And you just brought this man onto your team?
I did. He's just one of a handful of industry experts I'll have working with me for this elite-level research service. I'm also bringing on a CFA charter holder who was formerly an investment advisor to one of the top small-cap mutual funds in the country. He's an expert in profiting from crashes. He nailed the fall of Lehman Brothers and American Airlines long before their collapse. Plus, you'll also be hearing from another former investment analyst who got his first investment job working for a hedge fund managing wealth for multimillionaires that ran 2 hedge funds with combined assets above $100 million. This analyst will be focused on income-generating investment ideas to grow your wealth during these turbulent times. In fact, we've spent well over $1 million building this team of experts, and I just got all the legal work done to lock in this deal specifically for the situation report.
It's official.
Yep, signed, sealed, and delivered. The deal is inked, and they're all on board.
That's about as official as it gets.
This is what I want everyone at home to understand. This service is not some kind of get-rich-quick scheme. We'll be utilizing the same intelligence triggers multiple presidents have used to protect our great country. This is not a day trading service. You won't have to stay up all day and night watching trading screens. I'll send you one simple email per week. This is not anything complicated where you'll be forced to read mumbo-jumbo about technical indicators. I've designed the service to make sure that my team and I are doing all the work for you.
It really sounds like you and your all-star team are planning to do all the work for your subscribers.
Yep, that's the plan, Frank. But there is one catch. Due to the extremely sensitive intelligence information we're accessing, there is a strict limit to new members. We're taking just 1,000 people into this new service today.
I think that makes complete sense. We can't have tens of thousands of people running around with this type of inside intelligence information.
Exactly, Frank. And with hundreds of thousands of people set to see this interview, I knew I needed to put a cap on acceptance or things could get out of hand. But here's some good news. You see, when I put my name on something, I want it to be the best. So to make sure that I'm also going to provide new members with that ongoing level of support, we've hired a full team of customer care associates standing by to answer your most pressing questions about your subscription. But because I only want the best for our subscribers, the team is specifically designed to be small. That means there's a strict limit on calls they can handle, which in turn also puts a strict limit on members we can take today. So if you're watching this right now, good news, there's a spot open and waiting for you. But if you fail to move quickly during these final steps, someone else may hop in your place. This offer could very well shut down any day now, perhaps for good. And of course, there's a bigger reason you need to act right now.
What is that, Jim?
Midterm elections are just 36 hours away. The next 3 Kissinger crosses have just intersected. I don't want you to be unprepared. Biden's cold cover-up is getting ready to start. I'm not trying to pressure you, but just tell you about the urgent opportunity sitting in front of you right now. 3 Kissinger crosses have recently been triggered. These are now flashing in buy mode on the screen in front of me. Any or all three could potentially make you as much as 1,500% in 90 days or less, with less risk than simply buying and holding stocks. You could buy into all three once I hear from you today. You'll be in the trades less than 15 minutes from now.
And folks can get everything they need in one short report, right?
That's right. I've covered all three of them in a second special report called Biden's Cold Cover-Up. 3 energy plays set for massive gains in the next 90 days.
And like everything else you've mentioned today, this special report is yours free when you join the Situation Report with Jim Rickards?
All free. Not to mention you'll be backed by my bulletproof satisfaction guarantee.
Guarantee? What does that entail?
If you're at all concerned about how it'll work out, don't be. I've got you covered. For a limited time only, I'm letting you take advantage of my no questions asked performance guarantee. I know this is a big decision, so to make this as much of a no-brainer as possible, I'm promising you'll see at least 24 opportunities to double your money over the next year. If you don't think I deliver, then give my friendly US-based customer service team a call, and they'll give you another year of my research 100% free of charge.
That's very generous of you, Jim. This really does seem like a no-brainer offer, but I know everyone at home is chomping at the bit. So how much does it cost to join the Situation Report with Jim Rickards?
I told you we're going to make an extra special offer today. Joining the Situation Report and gaining access to this one-of-a-kind intelligence strategy is not going to cost you $20,000, not $10,000, not even $5,000.
Well, how much?
So I'd like to extend to you folks at home an invitation to become a charter member of the Situation Report today for just $1,995 at a rate that's much less than what we'll ask everyone else to pay when this limited time offer expires.
Wow, that truly is a bargain. And let me make sure I get this straight for all of our viewers. This special offer includes your first trading recommendations inside of the free report, Biden's Cold Cover-Up, 3 energy plays set for massive gains in the next 90 days. With more to come, at least 1 recommendation every 2 weeks, the free reports and exclusive interview. New subscribers get automatic enrollment in the Situation Report with Jim Rickards' Trading Research Service. 3-month free access into your inner circle, where subscribers will be able to join you once a week on your Rickards Uncensored calls.
That's right, Frank. All this is yours to keep no matter what. Plus, you'll also be receiving monthly portfolio updates, as well as bi-weekly market updates on gold, energy, currencies, and commodities. This way, you'll never feel like you're in the dark. All you have to do is click the Reserve Now button that you see below this video to claim my special offer today.
That's absolutely terrific, Jim. And folks, remember, hitting this button does not obligate you to anything. You'll just be directed to another page with additional information about this offer. This checkout page has an order form that's fast, safe, and 100% secure. Jim and his team are using the latest complex encryption technology we can find to protect your data through the entire ordering process. Jim, thanks so much for your time. I think we learned a lot of really important information today. Any last words for our viewers?
Well, ultimately, I've shown you everything I can show you at this point. I told you how I discovered the secret intelligence strategy. I've proven that you can use it to potentially multiply your money in the coming days. And I've given you a nearly risk-free way to try it all out for yourself. Now the choice is yours, whether you harness the power of the Kissinger Cross indicator. All you need to do to take advantage is hit that Reserve Now button on your screen right now. Thanks for having me, Frank.
It was my pleasure. All right, folks, that's all for us tonight. Simply click the button on your screen to check out all the details for the Situation Report with Jim Rickards. We hope to see you on the inside.